It's incredible to be back. Here we are. Thank you so much to Summer and the team. Let's do one more, like, whoop, whoop. Today is a little bit sentimental for us. Of course, this is year 2 of Cincy AI Week. Last year, I stood on this stage and I shared a vision around how AI will completely transform knowledge management and, as a result, the way companies innovate. Last year, it was a little more visionary. This year, for the first time, I'm revealing how we've made it happen at Narratize and for our remarkably innovative customers. So a little bit of the backstory for those of you who are here for the first time or we're meeting for the first time. I'm Katie Trauth Taylor, CEO and co-founder of Narratize. We are a Cincinnati headquartered AI company. Side note, part of the 0.3% of AI companies that are venture-backed and female-founded. So. Let me share a little bit of the backstory. For the last decade, my co-founder and I have had the privilege of having a front row seat at some of the most innovative companies in the world. NASA, Boeing, Hershey, Procter & Gamble. We've had the honor of hearing the way that their teams innovate and bring new products to market, and we've also watched and felt for ourselves how painfully manual that process is, at least was. And now we're in an era where AI is ushering in a hyper-intelligent future of product innovation. It's completely transforming the way that teams used to work. And part of our backstory, when we first concepted Narratize, it was about 4 or 5 years ago. We were one of the first 7 developer ambassadors at OpenAI. This was before ChatGPT, and I hope you kind of hear some of the thread of how our thinking is maybe different than a lot of AI platforms because we're pre-chatbot era AI. But when we were concepting Narratize, I sat down with 100 chief innovation officers, and I said, why is innovation so hard? Why does most things fail? Why is it so demoralizing? And it didn't matter whether they were the CIO at Disney or Jergens. It didn't matter. Even at Google, right? They all said the same thing. Our processes are manual. Our information is scattered. There are missed translations when you move from the first early concept of an innovation into actual research and development, and then hand it back to product development, and then they try to scale, and then marketing gets it back to go market it, right? All of these handoffs, all of this incredibly important cross-functional innovation creates challenges and miscommunications. Raise your hand if you've ever had or experienced that type of pain within a product innovation cycle. A lot of folks in the room. What this really means on a practical note, right, is teams are spending 70% of their time documenting. Or if they're moving too fast, they don't document at all, which is its own really bad, hairy problem. Teams are looking for scattered knowledge. They're sitting down to try to interview a colleague and get the information that they need, and then go back and update the slide deck, update the after-action report, update the product requirements document, and it's taking a ton of time away from the actual sparks of innovation, the actual collaborations that drive innovation forward. And so today, I want us to sort of embrace this idea of how AI can usher in a new era of innovation intelligence. What does that even look and feel like? I guess these are really like organized in 3 best practices that we're seeing across our enterprise and mid-market really innovative customers, how they're embracing platforms like Narratize and others to create this new era of innovation intelligence. The first best practice, is innovation at the speed of thought. Raise your hand if you think that sounds really ridiculous. Perfect. Love the doubters, love the haters. You're welcome here too. No, I'm kidding. Innovation at the speed of thought. How many of you come up with great ideas in the shower? Maybe you wouldn't raise your hand. Okay, go ahead. Some of you don't care what other people think. Walking your dog, writing the report, writing the business strategy. No writing thinkers here? Man. In the meeting. How about in the sticky notes on the wall? Oh, there's a lot of those folks here. That's good to hear. That's still good and thriving. Okay, so what does innovation at the speed of thought actually look like? I want to share a quick gaze, and again, this is the first time that our team at Narratize is revealing this technology, and so I'm really excited to show you this next piece. This is a demo of the product knowledge hubs within Narratize. And again, raise your hand if you were here last year and you heard me talk about how we really need to figure this out. We need to figure out how to capture knowledge and help teams collaborate faster and use AI to augment or agentically move forward innovation processes. So here we go. Let's take a look. This is our latest innovation at Narratize. We're calling these product knowledge hubs. This is getting deployed at some really exciting enterprise customers. Narratize ingests all of the documentation, all the slide decks, all the data tables, all of the meeting transcripts related to a particular new product concept. And then it turns all of that knowledge into queryable and referenceable answers, right? You can chat with it. If you're a new person on a project team, you can ask it to onboard you. If you are the senior engineer, you can use it to help author and augment or automatically create requirements, reports, market analyses, and all of the documentation that goes into making an innovation successful from the seed of the idea all the way through its messaging in the market. And I want to get down to a core assumption, and this is more like food for thought for everybody. I'll share some outcomes from customers who are deploying these product knowledge hubs with Narratize, and we're really excited to see the early results. But I want to get down to a core belief and why we designed Narratize the way that we did, and how everybody in this room could be using AI, or at least seeing the potential of AI differently because of this thought process. Okay, so I think we have an assumption. I think we have a lot of assumptions about AI, but I think one of the key assumptions we have is that it's all about questions or prompts, and therefore it's all about answers, right? So I ask an AI for answers, and I ask it a question, and it gives me an answer. We are kind of stuck because of ChatGPT's rise, and because ChatGPT is so awesome, and every other platform after mimicked its way of working, right, in this way, that we're kind of stuck believing that this is all the user interface options, all the user experience options that could go into this technology, or even, dare I say, infrastructure options. But you know, it's not that interesting what AI is capturing from us then, right? What it's capturing from a human is instructions, prompts, requests. Do this for me, answer this question for me. And not to kind of poo-poo on us, but I doubt that everybody in this room is asking questions that are all that interesting or unique, right? We're kind of probably all asking about 99% of the same questions. And so that's not that interesting. And if AI is meant to learn from us, and if we, inside of especially an innovation process, as a cross-functional innovation team, are going to be sharing and building upon each other's insights, and that's the spirit behind innovation, well then, I think we need to change our assumption completely. I think it's far more interesting to say, what happens if AI is designed to ask me for my insights in real time, as they evolve, as I'm walking my dog, as I'm in the sticky note meeting, as I'm coming out of the shower, for those people who were brave enough to tell us that's where they think best. And what does AI get when it asks us something far more interesting? It could capture tribal knowledge. It could capture our ideas. It could capture our critical thoughts, our opinions. It can track how our opinions are changing. This is what innovation is. Inside of research and development, teams are running experiment after experiment after experiment, and sometimes the experiment goes the way they think it's going to go, and oftentimes it doesn't. And tracking their thought process and their critical analyses and their opinions of those findings, dare I say even their feelings about those findings, is far more interesting for AI to be capturing. And I want to bring it home because we work with a lot of manufacturers at Narratize. Did you know this statistic? By the end of this year, 22% of the manufacturing workforce is expected to retire. This is 2 to 3 million people who know machinery inside and out because they've been there for 25 years. These are scientists who have sat at the lab bench and understand the nuance of observations that they make when they're running different formulation designs. They're leaving. What are we going to do when they're gone? How much knowledge is going to get lost, and how many libraries are going to burn? And so it's for this reason that I boldly stand here and say, all right, I'm just being provocative, but forgive me, prompt engineering is like so 2024. Yes, we're going to keep prompting chatbots. Okay, it's fun. We're going to do it. We want the answer. But far more interesting to think about how we can design systems where AI is trying to capture something of interest in our hearts, in our minds, and among our teams. Okay, so one quick story. One of our companies, global research and development team, consumer packaged goods, they make some of the lotions that you guys probably love and have used ever since you were kids, using Narratize to document their scientists' tribal knowledge, their engineers' tribal knowledge, their operators' tribal knowledge, right? Because most people don't have time to stop their job to go formally interview a colleague and then put it into AI with the appropriate metadata and tagging so that it's perfectly AI ready and ingestible into the future and attributable to that person. But that's what we've designed Narratize to do. And it's really exciting to see, right? Documentation in this way isn't the boring version of creating a written report and having AI ingest it. It's actually capturing real time our insights, attributing it to us as the people who contributed it. Then when you go in to prompt that knowledge base, you can ask, how many of my research studies are in here? Which is pretty exciting. And so, second bold proclamation, right? First was innovating at the speed of thought. The second one is, and this is kind of for the young folks in the room, documentation or it didn't happen. If you want your legacy to live on and the knowledge that you gained in your career to be something that a future generation could say, you know, what was on the mind of the Narratize team in 2024? Well, if you didn't document it, and if you didn't have AI ingest it securely and privately, of course, with the right roles and permission settings, if you're working on really confidential stuff, which many of our customers are, it didn't happen. And so documentation or it didn't happen. How do we create ways to use AI for structured interviews or for on-the-go knowledge capture? Attribute it to the person, create documentation automatically that pulls in references from official sources, from peer-reviewed publications, and from our actual living, breathing insights and opinions as they evolve. It gets really exciting. And you know, this also, of course, is just on a practical note, really hyper-speeding that 70% of time spent on documenting instead of being able to go create and innovate. And there's a lot of neat implications for this, especially in traditional innovation processes like stage gate, agile, jobs to be done, all of that. We're seeing one of our aerospace customers is seeing a 20 times faster speed through their documentation workflows. What does that mean? Better, safer airplanes. And so really, this is a new way of looking at AI. It's a new way of thinking, what are the ways that knowledge can be brought in together? How can this support cross-functional innovation and ultimately help teams not just generate the docs that they need to create, but actually create living and breathing knowledge repositories that help you work through the grit and the grind of innovation. And all of this, right, can usher in and welcome in a new era of product portfolio intelligence. We've talked a lot about what it feels like to be an individual contributor inside of an innovation team, to be the engineer, the scientist, the marketer, the legal, the regulatory person. But for the SVP, the person who has to try every day to answer the hard question, we have more great ideas than we have resources to fulfill them. How are we going to decide which ones to bet on? Those folks forever have been doing the work of product portfolio management, PPM, product portfolio management. And I want to encourage us to start seeing what's possible now if we're not just trying to manage those decisions, but we're actually trying to use intelligence to drive and to support those decisions. And so, one knowledge hub is interesting. One knowledge hub helps a team collaborate faster, but 100 knowledge hubs for 100 interesting ideas, of which 10 are going to make it into your product development process, of which 3 are going to make it to market for your customers. If you can do this work faster and you can see this level of visibility into the great ideas of your people, you can evaluate those ideas faster. And you can leverage agentic workflows to help your teams recognize how decisions are made around the portfolio. And so these are some of the agents deployed within Narratize. Everything from, I've talked a lot about the knowledge capture agent. There are agentic workflows that we've created, though, for stage gate decision making, helping create red teaming analyses, obviously document automation, compliance verification. So there are certain alignment checkers where, if new regulatory requirements are announced publicly, those can alert the users of a particular knowledge hub to say, hey, that product that you're working on, there are new regulatory implications to it. You need to consider that. Typically, a lot is lost, or millions and millions of dollars are spent before that insight is realized. These get really exciting, and this shows you, the power of thinking, how do you surface insights for teams that is actually powered by the insights that they shared inside of the knowledge base. All of this so far has been tracking a 46% faster speed through the product development process for our customers at Narratize. And I hope to stand on the stage next year and have another awesome reveal of portfolio dashboards and even more impacts. And until then, our team is here. We are so thrilled to be part of this Cincinnati ecosystem. We're so grateful to this ecosystem. I hope we connect. I hope you check out Narratize. I hope you help tell our story to manufacturers and CPG companies, companies that are constantly innovating and looking to outpace. Those are the ones who are meant for platforms like us. And if you ever need anything, please turn to our team. We are very immersed in this ecosystem, and we want to give back and support. Thanks so much.